if you're learning guitar, one of the most important things to do, you got to learn a little bit of theory, or just language. Theory is just language to use to talk to other people, is really how it's best used, or how to conceptualize things in your head. Because it's a weird instrument, you know, it's like 6 pianos lined up, you know, you got all these notes and you got to figure out how to make sense of it. I think the guitar is a very kind of geometry, shapes, visual type of instrument. Of course, you got to be able to hear it. You got to work on your ear. But being able to see patterns makes it a lot easier for me. And before you can see all those patterns, you kind of got to learn a little bit of the pieces before that. So the first thing I would learn is you got to just learn the musical alphabet, the Western musical alphabet. You know, it doesn't go A to Z. If you're going, you know, there's 12, 11 notes. You know, if you're going C to C, you need to be able to name all those notes in between. And it's just something you have to memorize. It takes a little bit, but what it does is then it gives you the ability, the words and the language to map out the rest of the neck. So if somebody says, play a F sharp major chord, you know, okay, F sharp is right here. And I also know that, E major is going to be right here. And I know that D will be here. So it just kind of gives you that language to figure out where things are so you can communicate with other people. So what it is, if you're going from C, between B and C, there's no flats or sharps. That's the trick. Between B and C and E and F, they're what we call a half step. There's no notes in between. The rest of them, there's a note in between. It's either called sharp or flat based on some other music theory. So just call it whatever you want in your head. So if you got C, the next one would be C sharp. Then you got D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C. So you need to be able to name all those. The tricky parts are knowing that between E and F, there's no sharp, and between B and C, there's no sharp. Between the notes, so the C sharp could also be named from the note above. It could be D flat, or C sharp. I think it gets into like key signatures and circle of fifths and all this other craziness of how to figure out whether it's flat or sharp. I'm sure people can correct me online, but I wouldn't worry about that as much as figuring out, knowing that alphabet, so that even if you're just playing punk chords and someone's like, play A, C, G, if A is here. If you go from E, A, B, A sharp, B, C, and C's there. And if you go from A, it's A flat, G. So that way you can know the language. Also, if you're creating your own songs, maybe you're just using the bass lines, you'll be able to spell that out for other people. So that's the first thing you got to know. And then once you know that, you can just start from the open strings. If I know this is B, then I know this is C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E sharp, or F. See how I get mixed up here too? Wasn't paying attention. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So that way you got to learn to spell those out on the strings. And as you play songs and mess around, that's, it's a good way just to practice that, is practicing it in context. And that will give you access to, once you want to try to learn the cage system, it makes that's what puts the cage system together, is, you got a C chord, the cage is all movable. So you got C, Then you got C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F. So keys is just about movable shapes. I'll do another lesson on that some other time. The second thing to know, starting out, which would be very good, would be the major scale. Everything in Western music is built off of the major scale. If you want to play something minor, you're just jumping in the major scale at a different point. Once you get into modes, again, you're just jumping in the major scale at a different point. The major scale is just a formula. It's like a word. If the alphabet is all those notes, the major scale is just like a long word. And so the formula they use is in steps, and half steps and whole steps. A half step is just when you go one fret above. A whole step is when you go two. So for the major scale off of C, you go up a whole step to D, then another whole step to E, then a half step to F, whole step to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C. And you can see how that sounds very familiar. It's been, it's you've been hearing this stuff since you were born and on the radio. And then what you can do from there is you just put a number on those. You put a number on them. So if C is 1, then that next one is going to be D, that's 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7, and that C is again 1. And that's how people will get, it's how like the Nashville number system almost works. So if someone was like, oh, play a C, G, F, that's going to be, C is going to be 1, F is, so what did I say, C, G, C is 1, G is 5 in that scale, and F is the 4. So it's 1, 5, 4. So you just want to know it. Then you can learn it in like the classic guitar positions. You can know that whole shape, which so that's the whole major scale. And then off of that major scale, you have your pentatonics. And then off of that, you have your arpeggios. And off of that, you have your octaves. And then off of that, you just have your bass root. So they're all connected, but the big word that you want to know that you can kind of drive everything from is that major scale. So another good thing to know is relative major and minors. So what that is that every major chord has a minor chord that has the same exact notes. So what that means is in the C major scale, it's going to be the same as a minor. All those notes are the same. And if you take the C major pentatonic, those are the same notes as an A minor pentatonic. And so how you get that major minor thing is you just move down 4 semitones. So if I'm starting on C, then I go down one, down another, and then I'm on my relative minor. And that's just really good to know. So that way if someone's playing a song and it's all C major, but all you know is that minor pentatonic position, you just move it down 4. It changes what notes are where, obviously. So if I'm in C, that note is going to be the root. If I'm playing A minor, it's going to be the 3rd. So the harmony will change it, but anyways, it's the same pattern So these notes I'm playing, this common major box pentatonic, is both C major and A minor, depending on what's behind it and my intention. And that will help again once you go to caged, and if I'm playing like an F major C position caged chord, I'll know that same geometric shape and pattern is D minor. Just starting on a different note. So it could be F. And I don't even have to change the pattern of. So since they're relative major and minor, same notes, same everything. So I think those would be the three kind of prerequisites to know before moving into something like caged or triad stuff, which is all similar. Triads is just a short word. So if you look at that major scale as like the big long word, and then the chord is just going to be 3 notes. So it's just 1, 3, 5. But you can build whatever chord you want based off of those. So you can make a 1, 2, 5, and then you can figure out where to spell that out. That's a 1, 2, 5 versus the major, or you can put a 1, 4, 5 in there. So those are the 3 things I would do: know the alphabet, all those notes, how to spell that out, then know the major formula. You can then apply that to the minor. So I'm going to play the C major scale, but if I start on A, that's the minor sound, but it's still a C major scale. It's just now the 1 would be different. 1 would be A. And then know the relative major and minor, just to make half amount of work. And with the alphabet, the best ones to know this top string, because that's where a lot of your bar chords come from. Know the second string, because you can also get the bar chords. And then what happens is that doubles, so you can then learn the octaves. So at the other corner of this box, up 2, down 2 is the same note. So if you're on 5 and that's A, then 7 on the D string is also A. So those 3 things will get you started on music theory. And what I would learn, get those down first. They're a little boring, but it'll make it all a lot easier in the long run.